Thank you for that intro. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm home for the summer, so that's always a good place to be.
Indeed, it's a good place to be. Let's just get into yesterday for a moment. The Prime Minister was there, and again, politics aside, I think for the Regatta or any event, having a Prime Minister there is a good thing. But you're not blind to the polls, Joanne. Neither is he. What was the reception he got down there? How did you feel people are feeling about the federal Liberal Party and the interactions you had there or so far over the summer?
It was a really good day, and I have to tell you that I've been in the riding since the end of June, and certainly yesterday, it was good for the PM. I'll just touch on that for a moment. It was really good for him to be here. This is the 75th anniversary of Newfoundland joining Canada, so it was significant, and he was warmly received. It was actually really wonderful to walk with him for that part of his visit here. But what I'll say, in my conversations in the riding and conversations yesterday, and I spent the day at the Regatta, so it was wonderful to meet so many people. Childcare, $10 a day childcare, it makes such a difference. Do we need more spaces? Yes. And do we need to continue to work with the provincial counterparts to make that happen? Absolutely. But that's an example of Liberal policy that is absolutely transformative for families. The Canada Child Benefit, again, absolutely huge. Lifted 650,000 children out of poverty. I mean, this is important. And so, yes, it's a tough time. People are still really unsettled. COVID was difficult. But have we done good work as Liberals? Absolutely. And I'm proud to continue to speak with people about the work.
I spoke to David Brazel the other day, and one thing I liked in that conversation, and I've gotten it from Mary Shortall, it looks like you and your competitors, at least, I mean, you will disagree on policy, and you may disagree on who's leading your parties, but you are all seemingly today, and we're still away from an election, generally setting a respectful tone about each other. Do you see that continuing through the election, and why do you think that is the case among the three of you?
I mean, I can only speak for myself, and I can say to you, Tim, I am who I am. And, I'm not going to make this personal, that I've never conducted myself that way. Will I have difficult conversations sometimes? Absolutely, because we have to do that. This is an important election for the country. But is it about trying to tear somebody else apart? No, that's not who I am.
Yeah, and your peers seem to be good. Perhaps you could give a lesson, Joanne, to the rest of the country. It would be a welcome one. Tell me, you talked about some of the signature policies of the government, which I would agree with you. I think people are connecting with. But are you still hearing about carbon pricing and the need to end the carbon tax and the like? And do you think there will be any movement on that front?
It's really interesting. I've been very vocal on my support for, it's actually not a tax, it's a rebate, because as a tax, right, the money would go into government and remain in the coffers. It began that way when it was part of the provincial program. It is a rebate because the money goes back into people's pockets. I can tell you I am concerned about climate, and I'm really concerned that as a country we continue to meet our targets. We need to be where we need to be in 2030. We can't leave 4 years without strong policy to keep our emissions in check and continue to reduce them and think we can come back to that point again and the world will be fine, because you and I know it's not. And that's not going to be the case. So this is about the next generation, and I will continue to say we have to do everything that we possibly can do to change behavior so that we can meet those emissions. For me, that one is non-negotiable. I've been really vocal about it. I can tell you I don't get pushback from people in the riding. There is an occasional person, but to be honest with you, most of them are people who are out of the province.
Okay. I got to ask you this one, Joanne. It's not the first time you've been asked it. I suspect you'll get asked a few more times about it. Can you win with the current Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau, as the leader, given what all the data says. Whether the data's fair or not fair, it paints a picture of Canadians who have lost their connection to be with the Prime Minister. Can you win the next election with Justin Trudeau as your leader?
I'm going to say yes, absolutely. But I'm also going to say to you, is it going to be a challenging year and a half? Absolutely. Is this a tough time to be in politics if you have a social platform? Absolutely. But that's the reason why we have to do the work. There is too much at stake to roll over and pass a country to someone who doesn't believe the climate is a crisis, that has said publicly that his future government will do the exact opposite of Trudeau in almost every issue. And that means a rollback of critical social supports for Canadians. So yes, I believe we can do this. I believe it's going to be a tough year and a bit ahead of us, but I'm ready to get to work.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Enjoy the time at home. It's always important for MPs, regardless of party, to get home and hear from the people they represent, and just to be home. It's a much nicer city than Ottawa, as we know, Joanne. Anyway, I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kim. It's been a pleasure. Bye now.
Take care.